Hello everybody, it's Kirsty and I solve crimes using astrology. Now this case is really sad, and if you're very sensitive to graphic cases or just anything with children, you may not want to listen, but it's the case of Haleigh Cummings. Haleigh vanished from her bedroom on the 9th of February 2009 in Florida. And one of my lovely subscribers or members asked if I would look into the case, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, the 911 call was made by a lady by the name of Misty, who was looking after Haleigh. She was the girlfriend of Haleigh's father. She was 17 years old, and she made the 911 call. So first of all, we're going to look at that chart to see what the call was about and if it was truthful. Basically, it's the first thing we need to do when we look at these charts. As normal, everything is really circumstantial, obviously, with this, so there's always evidence, but the astrology is not going to bring up that evidence. Hopefully the astrology can help point to where Haleigh may be, so let's have a look. So I haven't had time to pre-look at the charts. I'm just looking as I go. I've just made them all ready for the video, so this is straight off the bat reading. So the first thing that I want to say is, because Haleigh, and I've actually spelt her name wrong up there, I apologise, but because Haleigh was 5 years old, we really have to look at the moon. If you've seen my videos, you would have seen Elizabeth Shelley and AJ Froude, all 5-year-olds that were found on their moon line. So it is really important to note the position of the moon. Okay, so at 3:27 a.m. the 911 call was made. So basically we go to the third house because that's phone calls. The third house cusp is 0 degrees of Pisces. So the ruler of Pisces is both Jupiter and Neptune. Now, they both reside in the second house in Aquarius. So that says that the phone call is about a missing child. But I'm curious as to whether the person knows the state of the child. So we go to the 8th house cusp, which is Cancer, and then that is the moon, which just happens to be the co-ruler of Haleigh as well. So it seems we also have Pluto in the first house, so something heavy is on this person's mind. Now, to me, this chart looks as though it's too late. The moon at 1 degree. From experience, things often happen when the moon is around 29 degrees. So I feel as though this is too little too late, and that the person making the call actually knows that there's something drastically wrong and that possibly Haleigh is even deceased. So let's note these angles at 22 degrees here. The perpetrator is ruled by Gemini, which indicates two people. It indicates siblings, brothers, cousins. So there is something to do with brothers and cousins or siblings in regard to this phone call and in regard to what happened. And I'm actually going to backtrack because there's a few times given. So I'm going to backtrack to 8:30 and I'll tell you why. Now this chart, you can't see, I'm sorry, okay, is 8:30 for the night before. Misty, the lady that made the phone call, has admitted to having an argument with the father of Haleigh at 8:30 and then turning her phone off. Then she said she went on to do some washing and housework. Haleigh was in bed by 8 o'clock, and 10 o'clock she checked in on her and she was okay. So I wanted to go back to the 8:30, and I'm sorry, I've got ants on me, and have a look at what's going here. So I'm going to zoom in here. Now you'll note that we have 22 degrees once again on the ascendant and the descendant, and on the IC and the MC. So 22 is shown up twice now. Not only that, if we put them together, we'll see that Gemini on the 911 call has now become the MC at 8:30. So that's odd. The ascendant of the 911 call at 22 Sagittarius has now become the end of the matter for the phone call, the fight, and when she turned her phone off. So we have two really interesting sets of angles here that show that the perpetrators and what was happening at the time was actually going on at 8:30, or just after 8:30. Okay, so we'll zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to backtrack and just go to the 911 chart, because it is important that we use the chart that is documented. Even though there could be lies involved in it, it's still important to use it. So in this chart we have Jupiter ruling little Haleigh and the moon co-ruling, and then we have Mercury ruling the perpetrator. And as you'll see, Mercury and Jupiter are very close together, with Mars in between. So all three of those, that's interesting to note. Alright, just move forward to this other chart here. Okay, so this is 8:30 when she has a fight with Ron and turns off her phone. What happened next? Well, what we can see is the movement of Mercury, which represented the initial perpetrator. The person on the phone now, which is her, is also Mercury. It's in the 5th house as well. Now we have Venus in the 7th house of suspect, so there's a female added to the mix. And the ruler is Jupiter and Neptune, and that's all in the 5th house. And what that is showing me is there is a party going on or about to happen. So it wasn't cleaning house time, it was time to party. So if I go back to 8 p.m, sorry, as you'll see here, when she said that Haleigh was put to bed, we'll note that the ruling planets, Mercury, Jupiter, and this Mars here, are still in the 5th house of partying. So to me, it doesn't seem as though she was taken to bed. The suspect is ruled by Jupiter, which is, again, right there. So she's with this person going to a party, not going to bed. And then Neptune in the 6th, which is the co-ruler of that, shows us that there's some detrimental health factors about to happen. So what we have here is a chart that I have set up for when the moon reaches 29 degrees of Leo. I know through experience that that is often the moment that a person succumbs to murder in these charts. So we're going to zoom in on this one. So that's 10:59 p.m. So I really believe that by 10:59 something has happened here. So we have all of the planets now hovering around that fourth house, which is the end of the matter. The ruler of Haleigh is on the third house, conjunct the fourth, conjunct the IC. So this means that it's the end of the matter for Haleigh. All of these planets in the fourth house shows the end result. The moon at 29 degrees in the 10th house in the decan of Mars shows there's a violent ending. I know that the woman that made the phone call is in jail, and the father of Haleigh are in jail for drug possession, and there was rumours of drugs being given to her, but I can see that the moon, which rules Haleigh, is opposing the sun conjunct Neptune here, which could definitely indicate some an overdose situation, especially in the fourth house. But irrespective of that, I think by 11 p.m. she was deceased. So it shows how important it is to be fluid with the charts. We have to start with the one that's the most important, which is obviously the 911. And I'll get that one back up here. That's this one. So that's where I utilize directions. Sometimes I'll use a wedge of an area. So if the moon's moved a couple of degrees, I might put that in the map so it helps. But basically, this is the chart we're going to use. So let's have a look at scribble maps and see if we can see where it points. Okay, so here we have the house that she was last seen in. I'll just zoom out a bit so we can see what's going on here. Now I've kept it simple. I've gone out. Let's get this here. It's a feature on this that's really annoying. I've gone out 0.22 miles, 2.2 miles, 6 miles, and 20. No, 2.2 is the furthest actually. Oh no, I think I went out. No, I didn't. Okay, so I've used all the angles for the miles outwards basically. So first of all, the line's gone for some reason, but this around here, 260. Sorry, I'll just get this one. Okay, the Mercury line in Capricorn, and Mercury is the ruler of Haleigh in this situation, is going along here. So this is the first point of interest. Now I circled that because I thought it was weird how you could just get down in there, and I felt that was an interesting area. And as we can see, the line finishes just right there. So I'm sure that's probably been searched, but it's definitely an important area with the mileage and the Mercury line matching. Now the moon line is actually down here, and there's a couple of intercepted areas of interest, and it's not in water, which is not surprising because it doesn't indicate really that she's in water. There's this area here just off Madison Street and between Madison and Jenkins Drive, and as we go out, it's a strange looking area. It's like a maze, as we go out further between Gilbert and Davis Drive, there's a wooded area here near Westgate. I don't know whether you can enter in there. So that is definitely of importance. And then when we go further, we get to this area of St John's River, Norton's Fish Camp Road, around here. So this should be looked at too. Now, Jupiter, which is the ruler of Haleigh in the very first chart, the 911 chart, and not back to the 831. Now, I don't usually change rulers, so I do have to let you know that I don't do that, but I've used two completely different charts where there's a fight with a phone call and a 911 call, so I'm using the rulers interchangeably in this case. So this line also goes through this area here, St John's Court. There's so much of the river. As we can see, the line runs right through the river here. But as I said, in children under 5, the moon line often shows us what's really going on and where they are. I would hope across the road, Green Lane and Seven Sisters Drive, all between there has been looked at. All the way along here, I'm sure it would have. And then just this bushland, I would be following this. Buell Street, I don't know if you don't go to in any private property unless you're family, of course. But if it's just bushland and you're walking, that's where I would be looking. So just to wrap it up quickly, I shall go back to the chart. Okay, so this is the 911 chart again. Once again, I am convinced that 2 people are involved in this situation, that Haleigh was taken to a party or somewhere where there was drugs involved, or it's possible somebody went to her house and did that too, because of the interchanging between these degrees and signs that I showed before. But I think it's more likely that she was taken away from the house. There was no washing done, there was none of that, and someone decided that they wanted to do something to her. And between the ruler of the perpetrator and of the victim and the perpetrator, and vice versa in the other chart, is Mars, and Mars is angry. So she's been caught in the middle of an angry situation. I actually feel as though there's something to do with the head. The end of the matter here is Venus conjunct the IC in Aries, which is the head. Venus is the throat area, but to me it looks almost as though there's a female that was in charge of doing something and did this. It caused the end of the matter. I can't be 100% sure, but I don't think that drugs was the primary end result of Haleigh's death. I feel as though she has had head injuries, and there's been a big cover-up by people that know. It's people that know her, and that's shown by how close the rulers are in the chart. So they're not immediate family, but they are known to Haleigh. Okay, this is a horrible case once again, and I truly hope that little Haleigh's found and the persons that did this is brought to justice. if somebody knows something, please tell somebody. If you were at a party where this happened, who cares less about drugs that were there or what was going on? If you know where she is, for God's sake, just tell somebody. She deserves to be put to rest. And you covering for any other indiscretions are just ludicrous and not excusable, not good enough, and you'll be answering karmically to a whole bunch of stuff. So do yourself a favour, tell the truth. If you're in prison and you know, and you're watching this for some reason and you know the truth, then you've got nothing to lose, so bloody just be honest for once. Give them the exact location and tell them how it happened. Okay, thank you for watching, and sorry it was such another sad case. Take care, everyone. Bye.